Howdy y'all, Stock Warden here, back with another video. In today's video, we're looking at AST Space Mobile and how their stock has been on a slow downtrend due to a lot of different information and news that's came in over the past month, along with their Q2 earnings report for 2026 had fell a little bit as well due to some unforeseen circumstances. So stay tuned for all that and more in this week's video. So as far as right now, AST Space Mobile reported that they had a wider second quarter net loss, which was hurt extremely by a one-time charge related to the loss of its Bluebird 7 satellite. So that has been one of their huge downfalls that they've had here lately, because the company has faced a $125.9 million one-time charge that was tied to a April launch mishap that led to the deorbiting of its Bluebird 7 satellite. So that ended up hurting it a huge bit, especially for a lot of AST Space Mobile's long hold, where they seen not just short sellers, but they also seen a lot of long hold stocks as well be sold off too, because if they're not able to keep these satellites in orbit but for a couple of months and or a few years, then the company is not going to be profitable enough to continue just burning through satellites. So that is one of the major concerns that people have been saying about AST Space Mobile since they did lose that satellite, given that is the only one that they have lost up into this point, and they're getting ready for Bluebird 14 at this point right now. So 1 out of 13 that they have had up to have a major mishap, I would call that a win in my book, knowing just how technologically advanced and how crazy everything is on what they have to do to get them up there and to have them stay there as well. So, but the company in a whole is still continuing to develop this satellite constellation, which is going to design to provide broadband connectivity directly to standard everyday smartphones in partnership with your major cellular data platforms such as AT&T and Verizon. So the shares have been steadily falling. They have just pushed out another 2% in aftermarket trading over the past few days. And then its quarterly loss is also not only been driven by the satellite that ended up coming down, the Bluebird number 7, but it's also due to high operating costs while it's expanding its satellite network. So, and not only that, AST also reported a net loss of $230.9 million for the quarter ending in June 30th, and that being compared to a loss of $99.3 million just last year's Q2 of 2025. That is a huge jump in operating expense, where the increase is more than fourfold. So their total operating expense is now at $329 million, which is including the $125.9 million loss on the involuntary conversion where they lost that Bluebird 7 satellite. So also the second quarter revenue came in at $31.5 million, and missing analysis averaged an estimate of $34.9 million, which was according to the data compiled by the LSEG for them to show their main earnings report. And if you look down here in the bottom right hand of the screen, you'll see where their full estimates were and the actuals for the stock prices and the averages, and it hasn't really been looking too good because they come off really strong and had a huge miss, almost made it, another huge miss, and then they got close to the estimate, but yet still not able to beat or match the estimates as of yet for the physical year. So, but the company is still in its early stages, still having to put out a whole lot of money and a whole lot of material in space, I may add, to be able to create this huge network that's going to be global for everybody in the world, and that's whenever it'll truly become profitable. So they're still kind of in their early stages of everything right now. But on the plus side of everything, they ended the quarter with cash and cash equivalents with restricted cash and their restricted cash as well, totaling up to about $2.7 billion. So that's a good one. Also, they are targeting the deployment of approximately 45 of these Bluebird satellites in orbit by early 2027. So as they're getting ready right now to ship Bluebirds 14, 15, and 16, they are going to continue expanding that constellation with production ongoing through the Bluebird 46, and they are preparing to initiate beta services with strategic partners. So all of that is also a huge boost for AST Space Mobile to actually have somewhat of a deadline when they're going to have all of these satellites up in orbit, and also showing that they already have their partners ready and willing to start this beta program to make sure that they all test before it goes extremely viral and huge across the public globally. So, and since the incident back in April, AST Space Mobile has successfully deployed several Bluebirds into low Earth orbit. So, and they've also been very transparent about their Bluebird systems and how they end up getting sent up into the lower atmosphere. So, because they also on their website, they have a link for you to be able to watch those satellite launches as well. And I think that's pretty cool that they set that up specifically for the public to be able to see and watch those things. So, but with all of that, the stock is still in its early stage. They did have a pretty huge slip up losing one of their satellites, and they've continued to miss their earnings report, but they still have a huge amount of cash. They still have a great standpoint where they are trying to create a global network, and at speeds that evidently nobody has been able to practically comprehend on their smartphones as of today's standards. So that's going to be something that once they get these beta testings going and then it can actually go out to the public is where I see this stock truly starting to soar. So that is everything that I have for AST Space Mobile. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video, was able to get a little bit more information on this company and stock and where they're headed. So I will see y'all in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And this is the Stock Warden, riding off. So y'all come back now, you hear?